So much, Casey, for that very kind introduction. I am really excited to be here and do this um, presentation today about camp prep. And if you guys have questions, you can throw them in the chat, or you can wait to the end to ask away. But I hope I can give you some insight on what to do to prepare your child for camp as it approaches very quickly. Like Cassie said, we're already, starting the countdown for camp season to begin. So, camp prep. And I'm just going to kind of touch on a few things today during the webinar. And some of it you might already know. Some of it you've already had in your thought processes of what to ask or what to do as we approach camp season. But just to giving you a little reminder and hopefully some helpful hints that'll make your journey through the camp session a flawless one. Who am I? Mike Radell. I am the Education Coordinator Camp Director at EPI, or Empowering People's Independence. And our organization has had a camp since 1992. We've had it, and it's been successful every single year. Even the year of COVID, we had a camp online. It was very exhausting to do, but it was very beneficial for the campers. They got each day they got a couple hours of camp activities and networking amongst themselves, which is a really important part of going to summer camp, is meeting friends and keeping those long-lasting relationships. Um, I grew up in the Boy Scout system, going every year to camp, and it's actually my excuse for not becoming a professional. I kept going to summer camp and working as camp staff. I was aquatics director and then a program director. And then when I got the job here at our organization, I just kind of kept doing it and running our camp for kids with different types of disabilities, specifically epilepsy. But it was a great transition, and I was a community educator towards the beginning of my stay here and at EPI, and I'm able to go out to schools and talk about camp all year long. And then when the summer hits, I find myself 24/7 planning camp. So we're going to go over some of the things that you should think about when choosing a camp. Seizure action plans. A lot of the folks who have children who have epilepsy, that is a very, very important thing to inform the camp about certain information that you want to let them know if they don't ask already. But I'm going to talk about that. Coping with separation. This applies to the kids and it also applies to parents. Sometimes the parents have a bigger problem or more difficult journey with this than the kids do because the kids go to camp and they start doing activities and they don't think about home. But the parents, they're left home waiting for their kid to just return after the camp is over. So I'm going to give you some strategies on that, practicing how to overcome those barriers. Medical forms. There's nothing more important than that the camp have as much information at their fingertips about your child when they go to camp, especially when they have epilepsy. Um, and there's sometimes several different medical forms to fill out, and so we'll talk about some of those. Funding. Some of the camps that we offer through the partner organizations have no tuition, which is fantastic. But a lot of camps do have have tuition associated with being able to go to the camps. There are some scholarships maybe available or state funding, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to navigate that, and because we don't want to keep any child from going to experience the camp of your choosing because of financial reasons. What to pack? We'll talk about some of the really important things to bring, some of the things maybe not to bring, or to send along with your kid to camp. And if you have questions about that, I can answer them today, or maybe you can contact the camp that you're planning on going to. Communication, what kind of questions to ask? Um, I don't think that there's any camp director anywhere who won't spend their time and answer your questions. It's a week if it's a week long camp, that's 5, 6, 7 days that you're not there. So you want to make sure that you ask a lot of questions and find out what kind of program they run, what kind of activities they have, what kind of medical staff they have, and what kind of training. And we'll go over that too. We have a list of Epilepsy Alliance America camps that I included in this presentation, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. But first, I'm going to start with a little video, and it was created a couple years ago at our camp, and I thought it would be a great way to kick off this webinar.
I've been coming to camp for 2 years now. It's been really fun.
Being around people that have seizures makes me feel like I'm not different.
I like being around people that are like me. You can talk about it. It doesn't make you feel weird.
Camp makes me feel like at home because it's like where other people have the same condition as me, and I know I can be like me.
In a lot of situations, I get nervous back home with my seizures when I'm out with my friends, but here everybody knows how to handle a seizure when it happens.
My favorite thing at camp is the activities. You can go zip lining, rock climbing, and archery, which you can't normally do.
Everything I can do. I don't have to sit out of certain things.
They're able to just be a kid while they're here and not worry about if I have a seizure, they can just be themselves.
Camp is fun.
Makes me feel at home.
Camp is awesome.
I've been
So I hope you enjoyed that little clip. Those kids are awesome. Several of those kids in that video and our counselor, they come back year after year after year. And they do really are speaking the truth. They really love camp. They count down the days to the next year as soon as they leave. So for the most part, everybody has a really great experience at camp and has that level of self-esteem that grows, or the confidence that they never had before after going through a week of camp. Finding the right camp. So the location is key. We have some families that drive a couple 100 miles to go to our camp. And if you're comfortable driving and driving back home and then coming back to get them, that's great. Sometimes camps are right in your backyard, which is really convenient, but a lot of times they're not. So you have to prepare for where this camp is, and travel arrangements. And if you want to stay a few nights at a hotel, during the week of camp, so that you're pretty close, that would be that's up to you. But a lot of times people do drive quite the distances to get their kids to camp. You have to make a decision too, whether or not your child is ready for overnight camp or just day camp. And if there's options of those camps closest to you. We actually have a day camp option where a child can come at 8 o'clock in the morning, stay and participate in all the activities during the day, archery and swimming and wall climbing, zip lining, all that kind of stuff, and then go home at 5 o'clock. Go home to their bed, sleep overnight, and then come back the next day. Overnight camp is a great way to really get to know these campers, and these campers get to know you. They spend 24/7 there in the cabins, and if your child is ready for that, let's do it. We want to get them that level of independence really skyrockets when they're able to go to an extended time at camp. Sometimes there's some organizations that have mini camps, maybe a teen weekend or a mini weekend, a family weekend, gets their toes wet a little bit in preparing for a week-long session or even longer. Co-ed or gender specific. There are some camps that are co-ed. There's some camps that only female or only males. So that's a choice that you as a family have to decide and seek out a camp from the decision you make. Traditional or specialty camps. So the traditional camp is something that you go to and participate. The kids participate in several different activities throughout the week. Like I mentioned a little bit before, archery and arts and crafts and swimming and wall climbing, even horseback riding, things like that. There are some types of specialty camps out there that maybe only involved water sports or climbing camps, only they only do climbing camps. These are all decisions that you have to make. And also you have to kind of tune into, your children the best and tune into what they are interested in. If it's a multifaceted camp with multi types of activities, go for it. If they are really, really interested in doing a climbing camp, there might be some in your area. Um, Neurodiverse versus neurotypical. Epilepsy Alliance America has several camps across the country who have camps specific for kids with epilepsy. Our camp has, kids who have epilepsy, and then we have some spots available for siblings, brothers or sisters of children who have epilepsy, and they need the support as well. But then there's a whole slew of other camps that you could send your kids to, and they'll have an equal experience. YMCA camps, Boy Scout, Girl Scout camps. Again, I'm just emphasizing the fact that you have to prepare the administrators of the camp staff, of the seizures, so that they're prepared to handle them if and when they come. So seizure action plan. We use seizure action plans in schools. We want to make sure that the faculty and staff in schools are very well educated on each individual child's seizure disorder, but it same goes for the camps. They're going to be there for an extended period of time, and there's some really great there is a really great template on the Seizure Action Plan Coalition website. I've included it here, but it's also going to be in the chat. So if you need a good template for the school year, you can download that. And also, the camp should ask very specific medical questions. And a lot of that information is going to be in the registration or the paperwork that you fill out for each camp. That plan needs to be shared with the camp staff. And that's one of the questions you can ask the camp director. Are you going to share this information with the camp counselor who's going to be possibly in the cabin with the child the entire week? Pack seizure medications. Don't forget the seizure meds. We at our camp we try to get the kids their meds exactly the same time as they get them at home, because if you vary that time of when they get their medication, sometimes that could be a trigger, and the seizures can be exacerbated. So, but we have to have enough meds for the week or the entire camp session, because I don't know how many times a camper has come to camp with 4 days of meds and they're going to be there for 6, so we have to make sure that is when you check in, that is all squared away with the medical staff before you leave camp for the week. Consider an ID bracelet or any kind of seizure alert products that you have at home. A lot of camps, you can bring them with you. I know that there's going to be counselors most of the time right in the cabin with the campers, but if a child is used to using a seizure alert product, most camp directors would be fine with you bringing that to camp. And talk to your child about the seizure safety at camp. One of the things is an important thing is most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, your child doesn't remember their seizure and they don't know what they look like when they're having a seizure. So you should let them know that they're going to be going to a camp, especially for a camp with kids with epilepsy, that they may experience or may see some other seizures occurring. And that's okay. We use it as a teaching moment at our camp. Someone will say, "Oh, do I look like that when I have a seizure?" I'm like, "No, you don't have those type of seizures. You have different types of seizures." But they're going to get that informal education about other people's epilepsy at a camp for kids that are experiencing seizures. So making sure that they're prepared, that if and when they see a seizure, that they're not shocked, or they're not surprised. There's quite a variety of seizures that could occur, and you just want to give them that information. Coping with separation. This is mostly for parents. You can always, the kids are a lot of times very eager to go to camp and meet their new friends and stuff like that. But a lot of times, like I said in the beginning, parents are very nervous to send their kids away for a whole entire week without, having them not under their own supervision. But you can talk to the campers about the new friends that they're going to be making, the cabin life, living in a cabin for the week, the different types of food that might, be served at camp. Sometimes it's good, sometimes, yeah, maybe not so good, but most of the time it's really yummy food that the kids can enjoy. And some of the activities, if you know those activities ahead of time, you can prepare them and, making sure that they have their swimsuit to go in the pool, and the supervision levels will most certainly be there for most of the camps that we have through the Epilepsy Alliance America, so that they're safe, when they do that certain activity. And prepare your child for camp independence. A lot of moms and dads don't want their child to even do sleepovers or things like that because they're nervous that they might have seizures, and that is a very justified fear. But they're going to be going away for the whole week, and so you have to kind of practice, do some sleepovers. If it starts out at grandma's house or Aunt Kathy's house or something, just start small, so getting them used to being away from you for the week or for a period of time. You can go on outdoor hikes and pretend you're at camp, or try an activity at camp, or try an activity at home that you might have at camp. Um, Arts and crafts, that's an easy one to do, and things like that. And tell them that there's going to be a lot more of those when they do attend a camp. Send care packages or letters from home. There's nothing better than a kid, uh, maybe Tuesday of the week of camp, opening up a letter from mom or dad. And it helps them, know that you're still there. Some fun facts about, like, the dog. What's the dog doing? Or their brother or sister that's home. What are they up to? And things like that. Just sporadically throughout the week. A lot of times camps can give these pieces of mail out throughout the week, or care packages. Just be careful what you put in care packages. A lot of times parents will put candy and things like that to get them high on sugar, and we at camp don't necessarily encourage that, but we want to have some fun stuff that they can open up throughout the course of the week. Some camps have virtual letters that you can send in email or things like that. That's always a great idea too. Um, Us at our camp, we shy away from having phone calls or visits. Sometimes if they hear your voice or if they see you and they're at all homesick at all, they might want to, throw in the towel and go home. So keep your communication um, through letters and things like that. Don't bribe. The worst thing you can do is, like, tell them, oh, if you go to camp, I'll give you $20 when you get home. Let them experience camp and get that self-confidence and that self-esteem on their own when they go to camp. The reward is going to be making it through the week and making those new friends and experiencing the things that they maybe haven't ever experienced before. So be careful about, bribing your camper to go to camp. And homesickness, it might happen, especially for the younger campers, the first year campers, the 8, 9 year olds. It's probably going to happen, and usually it lasts about a day or two. And then they get so busy with the activities that are offered at camp that they forget about it, and they go on the rest of the week without any problems at all. Now, this doesn't apply to you, mom and dad, because sometimes you're left at home thinking about what they're doing for the entire 6 or 7 days of camp session. Um, maybe go out to dinner with your spouse or do something fun that maybe you don't have the ability to do with your child at home. So you have to occupy your time and just know that the camp is providing a very safe atmosphere, and they're experiencing fun stuff at camp throughout the week, and you guys will be fine as soon as your camper comes home at the end of the session. Medical forms. I've listed a few here that are very important to secure. A lot of times the camps will have these forms that you have to get filled out by the neurologist or by the primary care physician by the therapist or whoever it is. Um, they're very, very important because it's a lot of times it's an order. So the nurse or the doctor at camp are able to dispense the meds to your child with that form, because their signature is on it. So making sure that the immunizations are up to date and they're included in the camp packet, whether it's paper copy or whether it's an online registration or application, all that kind of stuff should be included before your child even gets to camp. That should all be worked out ahead of time. Like I said earlier, sometimes there's quite a large fee for your child to go to camp. There are sometimes agency scholarships that are available, fundraise dollars that can assist you. We don't want to exclude anybody from going to camp because of financial reasons. So we have some scholarship money available, but there's also some other types of financial assistance that can be sought at sought after to make it possible for your kid to go to camp. Um, whether they're whether they're state funding, if they are eligible, then that could be one way to get funding to go to camp. Or like I said, the camp has a scholarship fund. Releases, make sure that those are all signed in the application. Being able to treat medical emergencies or transport or medication administration forms. All those releases need to be signed. Even photo releases, like if the camp is taking pictures every day of your child going to camp, they need a photo release to be able to put that on a website or send it out. So if you're uncomfortable, that's a conversation you should have with the camp director to make sure that you relay that communication to them. And dietary restrictions. I mentioned before that, there's some yummy food at camp, but there's lots of kids who have allergies or they're on a certain diet for their epilepsy. We've had some kids come to camp who are on the ketogenic diet. The dining hall doesn't serve keto meals. You have to prepare them ahead of time and making sure that they're exactly what that child needs each and every meal or each and every snack for that matter. The modified Atkins diet is another one. A lot of kids are gluten free. These are things that the dining hall or the cooks at camp need to know. And also, so we don't give a child something that they can't have. Allergies. You would be surprised, maybe you wouldn't, but you would be surprised at the number of different types of food allergies that are out there. A lot of times when you think of food allergies, you think peanuts or tree nuts. I've heard of things like kids are allergic to celery, kids are allergic to chocolate, kids are allergic to a bunch of things, and all those need to be communicated to the camp so that they don't inadvertently give your child something that they can't have. Funding, like I kind of went into this already a little bit about camp scholarship, state funding, family contributions, and some other sources of funding. It is really, really important that you seek out any opportunity to get that funding if you can't afford it, because those kids really deserve to go to camp, and we want to make sure that they get there and funding not be an issue. So what to pack? Start off with that seizure action plan or a similar type of document to let the camp know exactly about the seizures that are happening and the protocol, like what happens, after a certain number of minutes, when does the camp have to administer the rescue medication? And every child is different. So those protocols are different and the different types of seizures have to be communicated to the camp. Please bring your medicine the way the camp wants it packaged. A lot of times it's in the original containers. A lot of times families will have travel bottles, and sometimes that's not so great when you go to a camp because they have to be, showed the appropriate dose, and it has to be identifying information on there, like the child's name and date of birth, because every single one of those bottles gets looked at every single time one of those medication is distributed. So if it's an expired bottle, that doesn't tell us the true story of what they're supposed to be on. So make sure that it's in the original containers. Items to be packed from the organization. each camp should have a packing list. And it talks about, personal hygiene, um, items, how many pairs of shorts to bring, how many jeans to bring, things like that. And that document can be very helpful. Just keeping your thoughts together when you're putting your suitcase or your backpack or whatever they take to camp together. You might forget some things, and a checklist is a really good idea. Bedding. Most camps, I will say, you have to provide the bedding. They'll have a cot or a bed, but a lot of times you have to bring a pillow, a blanket, a sheet, and or a sleeping bag. That works. Everybody has their preference of what kind of bedding they have, and a lot of times you can bring like a top sheet and a fitted sheet and put it right on the mattress that is at the camp. Personal hygiene items, very important. After a couple days at camp and they don't have their soap and their shampoo, we know it. We want to make sure that they have all those personal hygiene items on hand. I know we have some extras, but if everybody doesn't bring their toothpaste, then we have a problem. So please remember to pack those personal hygiene items. Something familiar to your child, a teddy bear, a blankie that they've had for years, something comforting to them. So when the first night when it gets dark and they go in their bed and they're sleeping in a different atmosphere or a different environment, they'll have something to clutch onto and make them feel a little bit more at home. Um, and I talked a little bit about uh, mail or packages earlier. Communication. Ask away. I, as camp director, love hearing questions from parents. I know um, it sometimes takes a long time to answer all these questions, but I really think it's important for parents to ask a lot of questions about, what kind of communication there is, whether there's emails being sent back and forth, whether there's phone calls or what have you. But you want to get a feel from the camp director or the camp staff what to expect when your child goes to camp. Even simple things like drop off and pickup locations or times. That is a really important question to ask if they don't provide it already. There's certain times maybe that each individual camper is supposed to come. I know we used to stagger the registration so everybody doesn't show up at one time. Um, what time is pickup? If I could tell you how many times we've had a camper waiting for their parent to come pick them up because they had the wrong time or they thought they had the wrong time, we want to make sure that communication is really um, spot on. Even if it's to send an email or a reminder at the beginning of the week, like, okay, don't forget, Saturday at 10 o'clock is when pickup is. And how to communicate with the camp director. Email is probably the most readily used way of communication throughout the course of the week, but sometimes camps have phone numbers and you can call. A lot of times the camp director will not agree to let you talk to your camper during the week because it could really wreak havoc on the homesick camper if they hear your voice, like I said. No, and how to pack the medications. I mentioned that earlier. What the camp's philosophy is and the program emphasis. There might be some themes that are carried out throughout the week, and you want to make sure that you know those kind of things. And the philosophy on seizures is sometimes pretty varied from camp to camp. I know we have neurologists at our camp. There are some camps that don't have that. They have a nurse, and they can't assess. They can just treat or give the medication that was included. So you want to make sure that you know what the camp director, what the medical staff is their thought process is on having kids with epilepsy at their camp. Even the not so much the neurotypical and neurodiverse neurotypical camp though. They need to know what your wishes are, if and when seizures happen at a camp, when to call 911 and all that kind of stuff that should be in the seizure action plan should be conveyed to um, both the parent and the camp director. Uh, what training do the counselors receive? Our counselors at our camp go through a whole online component of training, and then when they get to camp, they get another whole component of trainings. Anything from epilepsy, seizure recognition, first aid is a big one, and emergency situations and first aid, CPR, all those kind of trainings that you as a parent are entitled to know what kind of training they're receiving. There are some mandatory trainings that all camps have to provide to their cabin counselors or their staff, but there are some additional trainings that we provide, maybe such trainings about behaviors. What if behaviors comes up? Our counselors are very well trained in those kind of situations as well. And what do the counselors, what kind of counselor camper train, I'm sorry, what kind of counselor camper ratio is there? A lot of times, neurotypical camps have like 2 counselors for 15 kids in a cabin. A lot of times, like our camp, for instance, we have 2 counselors for maybe 6 or 7 because of the seizures or the other types of disabilities that are there. That's a really important thing to ask and find out the answer to. Here is all the Epilepsy Alliance America organizations who have camps. Um, I'm sure that there are maybe more, but these are the really cool ones that you want to look into and find out what kind of camps they have, when the camps are offered. Um, Sometimes they have week-long camps, sometimes they have weekend-long camps or family weekends. But all these organizations on the screen now have camps to provide a really cool opportunity for kids. And I just wanted to end this little webinar with this thought. Kids deserve a place to belong, explore, and grow. Parents also deserve peace of mind, support, and a program they can believe in. Camp should work for families, not the other way around. So that is my contact information and my phone number there, my email. If you have questions after today, you can certainly call me or email me, and I would be happy to um, give my insight on not only our camp, but other camps that are around available to folks like yourself. So much.